What's going on, everybody? It's Achilles LBT coming at you with a brand new build video, and today's character of choice will be Malfurion, the range support. And I feel like this is something that I should have did a while ago because I've made a few videos that I've commented on healers and not just the heroes that heal, but really the players that are using them. And this is something that I should have showcased a lot sooner. But keeping in tune with what's going to be going on with Heroes of the Storm coming this Tuesday. The timing is pretty good, seeing as the Monk is going to be another healer coming out. It's going to be a melee support. Granted, he's not going to be like a T1 healer from the looks of it, but still, he counts. So, keeping in tune with that, and if you look at the upper right-hand corner of the screen, I do already have my 15,000 in the bank, so I'm ready to go come Tuesday, and I will be having a video showcasing that hero with the early impressions and whatnot. So, getting into this build. And this build is definitely going to focus solely on healing. And I apologize if there's any sirens in the background. It's really just one truck, and it's forced me to try and do this video 3 times because it just keeps turning on the sirens for no apparent reason. I actually looked outside my window to see where this fucking car was going, and it's literally just turning it on and off for no fucking reason. It's not going anywhere. It's just sitting there. So, getting back on track with this video before I have to film this another fucking time. Gonna run down his basic abilities. So his Q is regrowth. It heals the target ally for 42 health instantly, and on an additional 105 health over 10 seconds. Now the thing about this ability that I feel like the healing over time, the gradual healing, because when you play a character like Lily, she's all about burst healing and really nothing much more past that. Uther is another one that comes to mind that's like really focused on burst healing. Like Malfurion is really the main hero, maybe even the only one that kind of is the opposite, where he focuses on healing over time. And this build is going to see your Q be your go-to ability. There's really no other reason. There's no other reason to really run a Malfurion, particularly in Hero League. There's no other reason to run a Malf unless you're planning to really go all out with his healing kit. So, this build will definitely show you how to get the most out of this. And this build in particular is exactly what turns Malfurion, in my opinion, into the best healer in the game right now. And I know a lot of people debate that title going between Uther and Rhaegar. But the thing about those two heroes that I feel like Malf has an advantage, one I already mentioned, the heal over time becomes insane if you build it a certain way. The other thing is that Malfurion plays at a distance where Uther and Rhaegar don't. They're melee support, so they kind of have to get up close to really do anything, like aside from healing, which I don't feel like they should be doing. And really in Uther's case more than anyone, a lot of people get a little too carried away with his stun ability. They're like, because he has a really good stun ability, but that's the only offensive ability he really has. I mean, sure, he has a W that can hurt people a little bit, but that also heals teammates too, so you shouldn't really be using his W. Like, that's one thing that Uther has that people don't take advantage of, in my opinion, is the fact that he has 2 different ways to heal people. And for some reason, when people use that character, they get misconstrued as to the fact that he's a support character and not a tank. And you see these players diving into team fights before the tanks and then dying instead of healing. So Malfurion has a complete advantage in that regard because he has no such reason to run headfirst into a fight, like as far as like his abilities go. And everything he has is just to poke from a distance. So he's perfect in that way. So moving along to his W, Moonfire. It reveals and damages enemies in an area. It deals 30 damage to enemies within a target area and reveals them for 2 seconds. Now, this is really, like, at its core, it's just a really good poke ability. It's just something that you can use from time to time. Like if you want to see if somebody's in a bush, or if you just want to put a little bit of damage on somebody to get them to back off a little bit, to keep them honest, keep them in check. This is not something that's going to like put heroes down or anything like that. This is not something that's going to be game changing. It's just something to poke, and it's not something for you to get carried away with, because the one thing that's very good about this ability is its cooldown time is very low at 3 seconds. So it's easy to get carried away and keep using this, especially in the early game when Malfurion's at his weakest. And no, I'm not just saying that like for the obvious reasons because you know you're a level 1, but Malfurion in particular in the early game, I'd say like up until level 10 maybe, his mana is a serious issue as far as like maintaining and keeping it up. And that's enough. That was an unfortunate result of them kind of changing his kit, because he used to have Conjurer's Pursuit, which would make him the opposite. It would make him mana incarnate. But I mean, in hindsight, I can see why they took it away, because that made him a little too dangerous as far as like healing. Like, it would be hard. Somebody with a high level player that knows what they're doing, it would be hard to kill his teammates with a Malfurion that has Conjurer's Pursuit. So, moving along to his E, Entangling Roots. You root and damage enemies in an area. You root enemies within the target area for 1.5 seconds and deals 15 damage over the duration. Okay, I did say that right. Affected area grows over 3 seconds. So, this is the other huge advantage that Malfurion has over other healers, is that he has two poke abilities. One of them reveals targets, but then this one right here actually roots targets. So this is like the ultimate setup move. The thing that keeps this fair, though, is that it doesn't automatically activate, as you see at the end of the description. It starts off exactly where you point it, but then grows out and expands. So, I mean, you'll see it in the second half of the video exactly how it works for people who have never seen this hero or whatnot, anybody who's new to the channel or new to this game. You'll see exactly what I mean by that, but this is something that generally you want to place this where you think people are going, not necessarily on targets like exactly where they stand. Like, you want to place this where they're going and basically hope that it lands, because if it does and your teammates are in a position to do something, it can be something that really, really swings the tide of a game. I mean, I had one game a few days ago where both sides were kind of battling back and forth tooth and nail. Like, it was a really close game. It was a lot of fun, actually. But I actually kind of lucked out and placed a route where I thought one person was going. And the reason I say I lucked out is because I was only aiming for one person, and I ended up catching 4. And my teammates were in a perfect position. It was on Battlefield of Eternity. My teammates were in a perfect position to take out all 4 players off of that route. So like, I was only going for 1, and I got 4, just to give you an idea of how handy this ability could be. His trait. This is another thing that I feel like puts Malfurion above every other healer in this game, as far as the ones that we currently have. His Innervate, you can activate this to temporarily increase an ally's mana regen. So basically, it grants allied hero 50% of their maximum mana over 5 seconds. So basically, he's the only hero in the game that can give people back mana without them needing to go back to a fountain or recall back to base. So when you pick a Malfurion, you are absolutely expected to know how to use your trait. Like, it is not acceptable if you pick this hero and you're not using the D button. Like, you're not spamming this on occasion, like, for people that need it. It becomes a touchy subject for sure. I mean, I know when I use a mana character and I see a Malfurion by me, I try not to say anything, but it's hard not to, because some people really don't understand how handy Malfurion is. Like, he is tailor-made to assist people, whether it's keeping their health up, keeping their mana up, or just poking or rooting for other heroes. Like, he is completely built from the ground up to be supportive to other heroes. And there's no reason whatsoever, like, a bad Malfurion is one that tries to take charge and like do things on its own, or like be the tip of the spear, basically, because you can go for a Moonfire build, which makes this a lot more of a devastating ability, but it's definitely not something you want to go for with this hero. If you're picking this hero, you're picking him for a reason, and that's to heal people. So moving along to his heroic, his only real viable like heroic, this is something that you absolutely see a lot of players picking, myself included. Like, I've never seen anybody pick a Malfurion to go Twilight Dream. So Tranquility heals all allies in a large radius over time. Think of it like Lily's Jug of 1,000 Cups, but without the ability to be stunned. So no matter what you do to Malfurion, this ability that lasts 10 seconds, it will still finish its 10-second run, even if you stun him, if you silence him, or put him in a bubble. If you're Zeridol, it does not matter. This ability will finish its 10 seconds out and heal its teammates. So that's what makes this such a good ability to queue up as a heroic. Twilight Dream, on the other hand, silences and damages all nearby enemies. After a short delay, it deals 100 damage in a large area around you, silencing enemies, making them unable to use abilities for 3 seconds. So this is exactly like Sylvanas' heroic, but the difference is that With a Malfurion, you have no need of an ability like this. You really need to just stay the course with Tranquility and have one means to heal everybody at the same time. And like that's kind of big when you have a healer. Like Rhaegar kind of makes up for this because he doesn't have an ability that heals everybody at once as far as like a heroic goes, but he does have his heroic does heal you pretty much close, like as close to full health for one hero as it can. So it's like if you're smart about who you choose, that could almost accomplish the same thing as healing everybody. So we're going to go ahead into the build, and this is going to seem like a straightforward build because I see a lot of people picking Malfurion, and they just pick all of the icons that have this symbol on it because that's the same symbol as his Q ability. So they just, it almost seems like they're just looking at the pictures and picking all of those, and at the first talent, this is not going to be the case because if you actually read what Harmony does, Harmony is dependent. If Moonfire hits a target, it reduces the mana cost of regrowth by 10. So, basically, this ability is dependent on you landing a Moonfire. Like, you have to lead in with a W, which is 20 mana in itself, and then use regrowth, which is 60 mana. And I'm sure the math translates to it being lower by doing that, but the fact remains that you're using two abilities just to get the benefit of one talent, and that's definitely it provokes players to initiate fights rather than doing their jobs, and that's what I don't like about Harmony. Moonburn, this is part of the talent. This is the first part of the talent that I was talking about that basically allows you to build around his Moonfire ability instead, which I actually would not doubt is a good build. It's just not, there's no reason to go for it because the thing about Malfurion is that if you don't build his heals, because he does have other good talents, and I will admit that right now. He's not the kind of hero that I feel like is just one way to run him because he does have viable talents everywhere. The problem is that if you don't run him the way that I am going to showcase in this build, his healing falls off big time. It's not enough to keep people alive in tight situations in the late game, and if you run it this way instead, you can absolutely keep people alive in the late game, actually with relative ease. It almost seems like an unfair fight if you're just focused on healing because nobody ever dies. Nobody ever dies, and I've had a bunch of games like that where my teammates got accustomed to the heals coming, and then the other team kind of smartens up and they go for me first and they actually succeed, and then my teammates start dropping left and right because I'm not there. So that's what this build will give you. A scouting drone is another one that's actually a pretty good ability, but it's not a talent that you want to waste. You want to pick at the opening because again, this is predominantly focused on healing. So you want to go Shando's Clarity at talent level 1. It reduces the Innervate cooldown. If you remember, the Innervate is your trait that gives people back the mana. You definitely want to lower this down by 10 seconds because as you see, the cooldown isn't sexy on this at all at 30 seconds. 20 seconds is still not sexy, but at least it's a lot more manageable. You'll be doing it more often, obviously. So moving along to level 4. Now, for whatever reason, because technically there's 3 viable talents at level 4. If you want to go further technically, there's only 2 viable talents for my build, but I pick the same thing every single time. But I guess I could say there's some flexibility here, but before I get into that, for some dumb reason, I always see Malfurion uses Goma de Lune's Grace, which increases basic ability ranges. It increases the range of Regrowth, Moonfire, and Entangling Roots by 30%, basically meaning that you can use all 3 abilities from farther away. Now, on paper, that seems like something that's good, but in-game, it is a complete waste. There is nothing wrong with the range on any of these abilities whatsoever, and for you to pick this over 3 other viable talents is... there's just no other way to, it's really stupid in my opinion. It's a complete waste of a talent, considering that every other talent in this level is not even just better, but it's way better. Now, Vengeful Roots is another one that for this build you want to stay away from, even though this is a very good talent because Entangling Roots also spawns a Treant that does 20 damage per second in the last 10 seconds. Now, this is something that I used to use before they changed his kit. And when he had Conjurer's Pursuit, I used to pick this at level 4 because this would actually help me pick up orbs on my own without anybody helping me. Like, I would just put the roots in the middle of a group and the Treant would do the rest for me. So this was really handy in my old healer's build. But Again, no Conjurer's Pursuit, no need for this. Do not go here. Now, this is where the flexibility comes, because what I generally choose every time is Rampant Growth, which increases the initial heal of regrowth by 20%. So basically, the initial burst it's increased by 20%. So you basically you're already improving your initial heal. Like, this is not the heal over time. This is just the initial burst. So that increases by 20%, meaning you're already healing more than you were before. But the other option that's also available to you, again, this is where you can be a little bit flexible and, like, I guess make the call on the fly and see which one you feel is better, because this increases Innervate's mana return by 25%, meaning you give your teammates back more mana. So I actually don't think there's a wrong way to go between Rampant Growth and Versatile. Make the call on your own, whichever you feel like is needed more. But me personally, I always go for Rampant Growth, because I personally don't have a problem with the amount of mana you get back with the basic ability. But I absolutely see, like, the handiness of Versatile as well. So do not shun this talent at all. If you feel like it's the better way to go at level 4, go for it. Talent level 7. Now, again, this is going to look like a straightforward build, because a lot of these symbols are going to have this icon on it, but there's a lot more to it. So, Strangling Vines, I already went over at Talent 4 why you shouldn't increase this, because it is a good ability, but it's not needed if you're going for a full-blown healer's build. Now, I see a lot of competitive players using Mule. I actually think this is a phenomenal talent, but for this build, and again, like, this is something I should have mentioned before, because Talent 4 and Talent 7 are extremely critical to what kind of healer you're going to have. As far as Malfurion goes, is his healing going to last through the game, or is it going to kind of like tamper off a little bit because of what you chose with those two talents? Because again, what I always choose is the initial burst to heal, and at level 7, I actually choose the heal over time to be that much longer. It increases the duration of regrowth by 6 seconds. So the initial burst is a lot better, and the healing lasts a lot longer. So that's like game changing right at level 7. You could essentially like heal somebody of like a quarter to like you could heal somebody like 30% of their health bar basically every time you hit your Q. So that's big, and especially in the late game, like, you only get stronger as your teammates get stronger. So it almost looks like you can heal somebody of like a little bit underneath half of their health every time you hit the Q. Again, I will showcase this in the second half of the video if you don't believe me, but because of that, I feel like this is too vital to pass on, because Mule is a very good ability, but it's something that you can get out of a Gazlowe user if you have one, and Cleanse is also a really good one as well. But again, I feel like the healing is too vital, it's too important, and if your heals are strong enough, you kind of negate the fact that somebody is rooted or whatnot, so it's just fine. Level 10, I already went over it, you go Tranquility. Level 13, again, the icons are the same, but there's more to it than that. At level 13, you definitely want to go Life Seed, because this is exactly what kind of takes all the work you've been putting into your heals for the first half of the build, and then just makes it that much more effective, because Life Seed automatically heals your teammates. It has its own cooldown. This is a separate heal completely from your Q, and you don't have to keep track of it at all. Nearby damaged allies heroes will automatically gain the heal over time portion of regrowth. So this effect has a 20-second cooldown. So this is another reason why Enduring Growth becomes a big pick, because at level 13, your Life Seed automatically gives people that heal without the burst. So, like, they're getting the second half of that heal automatically on a 20-second cooldown. So basically, you can heal 2 teammates at once without even really trying. So that's why this is such a critical pick. Full Moonfire, again, this is if you're going for a Moonfire build, which I wouldn't advise if you're trying to be like a conventional healer. Maybe if you have another support out there, maybe then you could go for a Moonfire build. But other than that, I definitely think you want to avoid that. Shrink Ray is actually another really good talent I see a lot of people using, and I wish I don't wish, no, I'm gonna not finish that sentence, but the cooldown I feel like is a little hardcore. I feel like it's warranted, but I feel like it's a little hardcore for like dedicating an entire talent just to this. Ice Block is more along the lines of something that you see Jaina do, where you put yourself in a stasis to kind of protect yourself, but again, you can't move. So I feel like at level 13, you definitely, for this build at least, if you want to keep his heals on point, go Life Seed. At level 16, this is one that's, again, I guess it's a little bit flexible. It's a little bit flexible, but for this build in particular, There is no other choice but hardened focus because you get faster cooldowns near full health, which is basically when you're above 80% life, your basic ability cooldowns regenerate 50% faster. So essentially, if you have all of your health, you're able to heal people in like in less than 4 seconds basically with this. Every 3 seconds, he basically has the same heal times as Lily, because Lily's heals come on a 3 second cooldown, so she can just throw those cups out left and right. So basically, at level 16, Malfurion gets the same exact ability, but with heals that are 10 times better. So again, all of these choices you make in the first half, they tie in completely with all the choices you make in the second half, because at level 20, this is one that I honestly feel like so long as you pick Tranquility at level 10, there is no wrong option here at all, because I actually tend to go for Serenity so I could give people mana back as well. Not too much mana, but it's still mana, and it increases the healing done by the ultimate as it is. But I feel like Storm Shield is a great pick because you give everybody a shield basically with one push of a button. Rewind is a good pick because you get all of your abilities back. I don't see why you would need to like kind of use this all that much unless like for an ultimate. An ultimate would be the only way I would see why you would need to use this, because again, with hardened focus, you're getting your shit back like super fast as it is. So rewind, maybe this is the least useful of the options you have. Bolt of the Storm gives you some really good escapability, so again, there's really no way you can go wrong here. As long as you pick Tranquility at 10, there's no way you can go wrong at talent level 20. But for this build, I personally go with Serenity because it increases how much healing you do with your ultimate, and it also gives back mana as well. So, basically to wrap up this build, at level 1, you go Shandow's Clarity so that you can have a smaller cooldown on your trait, which gives people back mana. At level 4, again, there's flexibility here, whether you want to give more mana or give more health. I personally go for Rampant Growth because it increases the burst portion of your heal. At level 7, you go Enduring Growth to increase the back end, the gradual healing, the heal over time. This is what, like right at level 7, you will see a huge, tremendous difference with this build on how much like your Qs are factoring into team fights. At level 10, you want to go Tranquility, give yourself an ability to heal everybody at once. And again, you cannot be stunned out of this. The only way the enemy team can stop this ability from going all 10 seconds is if they kill you. And you're mobile while you're doing this. That's the other upside. So at level 13, you want to go Life Seed, because Life Seed basically takes the Enduring Growth that you picked at level 7 and automatically pushes it out to allied teammates that are around you. Like you do not have to like worry about this at all. It is just there to take care of itself. Level 16, you want to go Hardened Focused. As long as you're above 80% life, everything regenerates twice as fast. There's really nothing else to say about this. This becomes a monster talent at level 16. And at level 20, again, you really can't go wrong with any of these except Nightmare. But I personally choose Serenity to make my ultimate that much stronger. So, again, this is just the first half of this build, the detailed side of it. Hopefully you come back for the second half where I actually showcase this build, and I will be showcasing this in Hero League instead of Quick Match just to help my odds of being the only healer on the team, because you really can't showcase what this build will do if you have multiple healers in the game, which is definitely possible Quick Match. So as always, this is Achilles LBT. That's Achilles with the Z. Remember it.